Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to this special episode of Brownsville Tech Live. And as you know, we started our coverage of the city elections, and we started that last week. And we've had one interview with one city commission candidate. And tonight, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to have Mr. Gustavo DeLeon, who is currently running for District 3. Mr. Mr. De Leon, welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I want to give you say thank you for everything you do, and to the citizens of Brownsville that given me the opportunity, and hopefully they enjoy the show.
Not a problem. And for those of you watching tonight, we're actually streaming live on Facebook, and the recordings of this podcast will be on the other 11 social media networks after the show is over. So I just want to let everybody know that right now we are broadcasting exclusively on Facebook, and the comment lines are open. So if anybody wants to chime in at some point, you can. But I just wanted to let everybody know that this is our second show of the day. We had our Starship coverage earlier, and unfortunately, it did not launch. So we'll have to see when that happens here in the next day or two. So for those of you expecting a launch, it didn't happen. So Mr. De Leon, kind of give us a little bit about who you are, where you were born, what you've done, what schools you went to, what you've done professionally. I know that you've had family that has served on the city commission in the past, so if you could talk a little bit about that. So I'll give I'll let you have the stage.
Yes. Once again, thank you for having me on your podcast. It really is an honor to be here with you and all the citizens of Brownsville that live here and that have still have family here. Um, my name is Gustavo DeLeon. I've been I was born and raised here in Brownsville. I was born August of 1971 to two wonderful parents. Uh, and I went to Episcopal Day School when as a toddler, all the way to third grade. From third grade, I went to Russell Elementary. I grew up in District 4. From Russell, I went to Stell Middle School. And then from Stell, I went to James Space High School, where I graduated in 1990.
Okay.
So that makes me 53 years old.
You're a
So,
Viking.
yeah, I'm a Viking, and hopefully we can get the first Viking on the city commission.
Well, you know what? It's a good thing we're going to have somebody with public school representation. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, well, yes, yes. In fact, I ran into an old classmate this afternoon when I was having lunch, and he goes, "Hey, man, you're all over the map." I said, "Well, we got to make sure we elect the first Viking
Yeah.
to the city commission," and we were both laughing and stuff like that. But it's a good thing.
Right.
Uh, I After graduation, I worked for the Holiday Inn and the Sheridan here in Brownsville, so I have some experience in the hotel industry. And then from there, I was always fascinated with airplanes and aviation. So I went to go work for, I don't know if you remember this, but remember Aero Litoral? It was part of Aeromexico. You remember
Yeah.
that airline?
Yeah.
Okay,
I do.
I worked for them for about 6 years, and then I jumped to what was then before Continental Airlines,
Yeah.
and I worked for them for almost close to 8 years. I loved that job, loved it. I understood the airline industry very very well, and I was going to school at the time, and then I went to my career in law enforcement.
Yeah. Well, I know that you had mentioned in the past, because you and I have spoken before, that your dad served as a city commissioner. Is that true?
Yes, sir. That my dad served as a city commissioner, District 4, uh, and I've always, when I was growing up, sir, my father always instilled in us to do the right thing, not sometimes, but all the time.
Right.
And when I was growing up, well, we watched little TV. So I always saw my father get up, put his jeans on, his boots, and leave with a cowboy hat. And that was my hero.
Right.
Nowadays, we have Batman and Spider-Man and all that, but my father uh is my hero. And he always wanted to help the people. And that's why I went into my career that I do have now, because I believe in helping the citizens and the people of Brownsville and the country.
I remember your dad. I remember seeing him, wearing his cowboy hat when he was a city commissioner. So,
Yes,
yeah,
I guess that's what everybody remembers him,
yeah,
is with that cowboy hat. Yes, sir.
yeah. Well, tell me, what made you decide to run for politics? Was it a
Well,
family thing? Was it more than just a family thing? I mean, what, what drives you to pursue a position, in the city? I mean, I know there's lots of issues, right? And maybe you can
yeah,
talk about
yes.
that.
The Ever since my dad passed, uh, and I'm in the process of retiring, and I still go visit my dad maybe 2 to 3 times a week. And I sat down and I asked him, how can I keep on helping the citizens in our country? Uh, and that's what was always taught to us, is to help and do as much as we can. And I always saw my father as a commissioner. And I said, well, you know what? If I've always for the last 29 years, I've always helped, the citizens, uh, and my background and my schooling and my education, why don't I think I can do a good job as a city commissioner. And I decided that, what, I'm gonna put my hat in the ring, and then let's go at it. So, and a lot of it had to do with my father, and seeing him as a city commissioner, and really helping the citizens of Brownsville, because I think that's a very, very big asset that we have. And we have a lot of the citizens of Brownsville are great, and sometimes uh, they need a little guidance. Not everybody knows. Not a lot of people vote. So I
Right.
think it's very important that people go out and vote. And that's what was always taught to me. And I said, you know what, I'm going to run for city commissioner, because I know I can do a great job.
Right. Well, that's one thing that my BFF right behind me, or over there right behind me, mentioned
Yes.
a few a couple of months ago. He said local elections matter, right? And they can make the difference between getting water to fight a forest fire or not, right? And so, local elections definitely matter. And
Well, and sorry to interrupt you, but I'm gonna give you what was taught to me, as before I was even old enough to vote. Uh, it was always instilled to us that you know federal elections are important. They're very important.
right,
But when it comes down to our state, county, schools, BISD, and our city, are very, very important. And if not just as important as our federal elections, because
exactly,
when you have flooding, or your streets are need to be repaired, or your light is going out, or your trash and brush hasn't picked up, well, obviously you're not going to call the president
right,
of the United States. you're going to call your elected officials,
Unless your
and
cats are
they're
being
the
eaten.
ones.
Unless your cats are being eaten.
Yeah, there you go. And it's very important. It's very important. Our city elections, our schools, and our county are just important. And I tell that to people. And when I've been telling people that these elections really matter,
Right.
and you know, we all have to do our homework and find out who the best person that we're going to elect to be on our commission, to handle our school districts and handle our county. And I think we're in the right direction. Uh, our county, our BSD, and our city, they're doing a great job right now. I believe so.
Yeah. Well, what do you think are some of the pressing issues currently that the city is facing? And can you kind of give us an idea of what your thoughts are, what some of those pressing issues may be?
Well, a lot of the issues are drainage, our streets, and these issues have been a problem, an issue ever since I was a kid.
Right.
It's nothing new. Uh, as the years have gone by, and our commissioners right now, I believe, are doing a great job. And some of the streets are getting done, and some of the drainage issues are being taken care of. But there's still a lot to be done. Uh, I don't believe on some of these neighborhoods that, when it rains a little bit, their streets get flooded, gets into their houses. They cannot leave to go to work. And the problem that I have is, you know, if we get a hurricane, streets will be flooded, and it's inevitable that it happen. But what I want to happen is that the drainage systems and the pumps be turned on so that our police, our EMS, our fire department can get into these areas and not be flooded in case of an emergency or someone's ill and needs medical attention.
Right.
Uh, so to me, that's a big problem that we have, because we have a lot of elderly people that live throughout Brownsville.
Right.
And if our fire and our EMS cannot get into a neighborhood because it's flooded, and it could be life or death, God forbid, we can't get to them in time, you know, it becomes an issue.
Right.
I know the city of Brownsville, the city manager, and the departments are trying to rectify a lot of these problems, and we might think they work at a snail's pace because Brownsville's growing. Brownsville's big, and we're the biggest city in the valley. So, we just got to make sure that our subdivisions that are going to be built are capable of uh, being the water being pushed out rapidly, so that we don't have issues like this. Now, you know, streets are being used every day. Streets need to be maintained. I don't believe uh, streets should be ignored uh, for a long period of time, because once the street gets unrepairable, then it costs more money
Right.
to 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 remove everything and rebuild the street. So I think streets should be maintained, uh, before they get uh, to the point where they're not repairable,
Right.
because this is what our wives, our kids, the children of Brownsville that ride buses to school, that we take our kids to school, our grandkids, these are the streets that they use every day. Even our EMS, our police, our Cameron County officers, our law enforcement officers, everybody uses these streets, and we need to make sure that they're maintained and safe to drive in.
Right. But
and that is a big issue.
one of the things that I've noticed lately, and I'm not sure why, but it seems that our traffic lights are unsynchronized. It seems like
Y-
we've got more traffic today. I can tell you that Boca Chica, right there at that intersection by the freeway, oh my God, it is tough to to cross. If you're on Paredes and you want to make a right turn on Boca Chica, good luck. And it's the same thing now on 802. There's just a lot of traffic, and it seems like the lights aren't kind of synchronized. It seems like they hinder they hinder more than they help. But I mean, who controls that? Is that a city function? I mean, we've just got some bad lights out there that just don't seem to help the
Well,
situation.
you know, uh, there is a problem with that, and I drive this. I drive around Brownsville quite often. Um, I'm like my wife's Uber driver when she wants to go to different places, or whether it be Uber or that other company that's out there. So I don't want to mention any names, but I'm like her chauffeur when she goes around, and it is horrible that what 5 years ago it used to take 5-10 minutes to cross Brownsville.
Right.
Now we're looking at there's more drivers, more people coming to Brownsville, uh, more people moving to Brownsville, and a lot of these lights are not synchronized.
Right.
Uh, and there's a lot of lights here in Brownsville that once they turn green, in 5 to 6 seconds, they're already yellow, red.
Exactly.
These lights need to be green so that long enough to get this traffic moving and out of the most the streets that are more trans uh that people that transit these streets the most.
Right.
And you're absolutely right. Your Boca Chica, your Paredes, your Alton Glore by the hospital.
Oh yeah.
uh I mean, even Central Boulevard hitting 802 or I mean, there's just a lot of streets. And look, go downtown.
Right.
I mean, there's just a lot of streets that need to be the lights need to be green a little longer and more synchronized so that the traffic can flow at a faster pace.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I told you that I usually pop in. I don't pop in surprise questions, but somebody did ask me to ask this moving forward. And we just had Charo Days, right? We had Sombrero
Sure,
Fest. And
sure,
one of the complaints that I got, but it's not the first time I hear about it, is about Sombrero Fest.
sure.
One viewer said, "Why don't they move Sombrero Fest to the sports park because they were complaining that it just took forever to get in, waiting in line." And I said, I'm not so sure if I'm for that. I said, because I think it would take the the feeling of Charo Days away from downtown. I thought I told this individual maybe what we should consider is buying Putenat Elementary right across the park. I mean, that would be a whole block, and that would give us more space and still keep it downtown. I mean, what do you think? There's people that, and I'm pretty sure you've heard it too, right? People saying, "Oh, why don't they move the Sombrero Fest over to the sports park?" I don't know. I personally am not for it. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I thought the same thing,
Yeah,
and I asked that question,
yeah,
uh, and the ideal location would be the sports park. That's the ideal place. And I asked that question, and the response that I got uh, probably wasn't what I wanted to hear, but it made sense. And I didn't know this. Uh, the Sombrero Fest Association, and you could probably correct me if I'm wrong, uh, invested in the underground electricity there at the park where it's held, as we I mean there right now, and for them to go and do that at the sports park would cost a lot of money.
Okay.
So the infrastructure there at the park where it's at right now has already been there. So the answer is it would be nice at the sports park, but you're talking about a lot of money to go and run all the electrical outlets and infrastructure there at the sports park to be able to handle uh, Sorbetto Fest over there. That was the question, because I asked that question because people were saying, well, you know, parking and people charging $20 to park or $30, some people charging 40. Well, if they own the lot, how close do you want to park before you walk?
Right.
Uh, and do the people take advantage of the people? Well, you know, it's really their property, so uh, it's all depends on how far you want to walk, and it's dark downtown, and people like to go have a good time, but you know, I asked
Well,
that question, and that was the answer that was given to me.
do you think if hypothetically, and I'm not predicting anything and I'm not throwing out any secrets, but if Putenat Elementary down the road it was decided to shut it down, do you think it would be a good opportunity for the city to look at buying it and bulldozing it and increasing Washington Park?
That would be an option, but we need to make sure you know the city spends their money correctly. uh we need to make sure, if Sombrero Fest is only once a year.
Right.
uh so what else happens in the city of Brownsville the other, you know 362 days out of the year? I mean, is the city gonna use that area for something? So that would be an option. But we need to make sure that, if the city or even Sombrero Fest could probably buy it, offer it to Sombrero Fest.
Right.
But as far as the city going and buying it, we would have to look at that and
Yeah.
see what it would cost.
Yeah.
Because, everything's going up nowadays, and, everybody wants to win the lottery on selling their properties, and it's a good thing. I mean, uh, you can't uh, blame anybody for doing that.
Right.
So I would think that we would need to, see the numbers, see what if it's cost effective before we even do something like that.
Well, one of the things you touched on was with regards to parking, right? Not just parking at Sombrero Fest, but obviously parking being a problem in general, especially downtown. Especially now with all the new bars and restaurants and stuff like that. I'll be honest with you, it's still difficult to find parking. Do you think we need to look at more? I mean, I was telling somebody the other day, I think the future of Brownsville, especially downtown, is parking and parking going up. I mean, more parking garages, not less parking garages. I mean, because obviously, there is some plans, I think, with the zoo expansion to build a parking garage specifically for that. But definitely parking is a problem downtown. And, especially if, we continue to see the renovations of downtown, people are going to want to go down there, and they got to be able to park somewhere. you know
And but parking downtown has always been a problem. But with the increase of people coming to Brownsville, visiting Brownsville, going, I mean, we have museums downtown that people that come visit Brownsville want to go see. And then we got the bridges near downtown that want to people want to walk and go across and stuff like that. So yes, Brownsville is and does have a parking problem, and maybe more parking garages would help. And what just thinking of it right now, on the weekends, you have the city plaza, uh, little parking garage. Now, exactly how many cars fit there, I don't know.
Right.
And maybe, the city could charge or to park for people to park there in that parking garage if it's not being used on the weekends. Uh, and maybe, like another parking garage, maybe not downtown, and have a little trolley or little buggies chauffeur people around. You know, there's a lot of ideas out there. We just gotta, you know, find out which one best suits Brownsville and
Right.
the location downtown,
Right.
uh, because it is a problem.
Yeah. Now, one thing you mentioned was that you had some experience working in the airline industry, and as
Yes.
Brownsville has had some success with obviously American United. Previously, it was Continental, and those have been pretty good success stories. But we've also had a few failures, and that includes when it comes to Avelo Airlines and prior to that, Allegiant. What do you think we can do to kind of stop the what I call the bleeding of
I was just gonna say
passengers?
that.
Yeah, the
I was
bleeding
just
of
gonna.
passengers to other airports. I mean, definitely it's hard to compete against Southwest. There's no doubt about that, right? But at the same time, I was just a little in shock that we lost a Velo, especially to destinations that seem pretty exciting to go to: Orlando, Los Angeles, even Las Vegas. I mean, what do you think our issue is? And by the way, I know that the airport's not in your district, but you are one of five or six votes on the city commission, and you guys would decide in general the who to attract or not to attract. So I think it's a good question to ask. You know,
Well, say this Velo airline, they have I don't want to say a track record of going into cities, you know, spending less than maybe a year to 6 months, and then they pull out.
that's true.
Uh, I believe that we need to look for an airline that doesn't have that history of doing that, and look to see what airline best fits Brownsville. Uh, Now, United and American have done fairly well, and they're doing good. But we need more destinations. We need to compete with other cities and other airports. Now, is it a race or it's not? Is it a sprint? No, it's not. Uh, you know, People always talk about Southwest. Do you know why Southwest is so cheap and their airfares? Do you know why? Because they fly one, and I know this. They fly one plane, and it's a 737, 200, 300, 500, 600, and 700.
Right.
It is the same plane. So now, when you go to United and you go to an American Airlines, of course, they're bigger airlines. They fly more destinations. They have bigger aircrafts. They have different aircrafts. So what does that mean? Well, they buy more parts, tires, more mechanics that work on different planes. So that's why the cost is a little bit higher than your Southwest. Now, your Southwest Airlines, their flights that go into Harlingen are bigger planes than our ones that come into Brownsville.
Mm-hmm.
So you have more seats on every flight to sell. So what does that mean? Then they're able to reduce the fare to fill those seats. And when they go to Hobby International, which is an international airport, just recently, less than 5, 6 years ago, they became an international airport. So now they got more destinations, and they fly. Go back to the same thing is they fly the same airplane, and it's just a cheaper way of flying. Do you remember when Southwest was going to come into Brownsville?
I had heard
You
about,
remember?
I had heard that back in the 70s they were looking at flying into Brownsville.
Yes. They were coming. They were going to come to Brownsville, but Brownsville says, you know what? We're going to stick with Braniff, and then we're going to stick with. And then they really wanted to come to Brownsville, but do you remember Muse Air?
Yes. They were
Okay, well,
eventually bought out by Southwest.
yes. Well, see, Brownsville said no. We're going to stick to Muse Air, and then Southwest ended up buying them out. But we had the chance to land Southwest here in Brownsville, but we missed that opportunity.
Right.
Now, would they have stayed in Brownsville? We don't know. Maybe
Right.
they would have stayed in Brownsville for a couple of years and then they would have said, you know what, let's go to Harlingen.
Right.
We don't know that. I mean, hindsight's 2020 now, So right now we just gotta uh do with what we have and try and get destinations where I don't believe in flying to Austin, where you're gonna start trying to compete with Harlingen and McAllen that now have Austin flights. We need to pick destinations where you know people would want to go to. Now you mentioned Las Vegas. I believe that the city of Brownsville subsidized a certain amount of seats with uh, Avelo Airlines. I kind of think that was the wrong way to do it, personally. Uh, why are we going to ask the citizens to go travel to Las Vegas, gamble, leave their money there in Las Vegas because you never win in Las Vegas, and it's very few. It's you do get some people that win,
Right.
but 8 times, 9 times out of 10, you're going to leave your money there,
Right.
and it happens all the time.
What about
Uh,
international destinations? I mean, I know that we've got this small little airline that does daily flights to Monterrey, but what about, places like Cancun and stuff like that? I mean, I know it's difficult because, Viva, I think it was Viva Aerobus, tried in Harlingen, they failed, right? They didn't have any
yes,
demand.
yes,
But and of course, now it doesn't help that there's flights from Matamoros, right, and Reynosa, right?
yes, yes,
So, but I hear through the Facebook comments every once in a while when the when the airport management puts out some ad. Why can't we get Cancun, or why can't we get Mexico City? I mean, do you think based on the fact we've got Matamoros and Reynosa that we could sustain international
look,
flights down?
and that's a good question. When I worked for Continental Airlines back in the early '90s, we had a Mexican flight, a U.S. flight to Mexico City. We had one, and it did exceptionally well. In fact, that plane originated in Houston, stopped in Brownsville, picked up passengers, and went to Mexico City. When it came back, it came from Mexico City to Brownsville, cleared the necessary agencies to come into Brownsville, and then go to Houston. And
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean? It means shorter lines in the international terminal in Houston, not long wait times. And when it got to Houston, it went in as a domestic flight.
Mm-hmm.
So people would just get off and go to their connecting flights, or if they lived in Houston, they would just walk out the terminal and go home. That is something that I would want to bring to Brownsville
Mm-hmm.
and do it that way. We have a beautiful terminal here in Brownsville, and I believe we need to take advantage of it. And that would be one of my plans to do. Get a flight that comes originates where you can say where. I mean, let's pick you. say Miami. We're gonna use Miami because Miami, American Airlines has a hub in Miami. Okay, I don't want to pick Dallas or Houston because other cities already have flights to those areas. So let's pick Miami. American Airlines has their hub in Miami. So what I would like to do, and this is just an example, go to American Airlines and say, you know what? Have a flight that goes from Miami to Mexico City, but stop here in Brownsville. Pick up passengers here in Brownsville so that we could have an international flight to Mexico City or to whatever destination you want to go to. And then on the way back, you stop in Brownsville, you clear the international terminal, and then you go to the regular domestic terminal when you go back to Miami. That would be the best option that Brownsville could do right now. Now, would I fly to Cancun? I don't think so because you already got flights from Harlingen to Cancun and you got a McAllen flying to Cancun. So I don't want to, I wouldn't want to compete in that to that city. I want to pick another one out. You know, we need to make sure that we get a destination that is good enough to put people on that plane so that it would be feasible for Brownsville.
Right.
But one thing is, you mentioned Las Vegas. What I would have done with that trip into Las Vegas, and instead of the city of Brownsville paying or subsidizing that that airline, there's no reason why we couldn't have gone to Las Vegas and says, "Hey, Las Vegas, why don't you help and helping us subsidize so that we don't pay the amount of money that we're paying for the seats that are not filled. Regardless, the citizens are going to go drop off their money in Vegas. So it's better for them to subsidize that airline than the city of Brownsville.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So that's what I would have done. Uh, and that's what I would have done differently. But
Yeah.
hey, we tried it. I just think Avelo was not the airline for us, and I wish them well. But I just think that we could have done better.
And you mentioned that you had some experience in the hotel industry early on in your career. And one of the things that I touched on last week with the other candidate is what I have seen is it appears that we have some kind of need for a multi venue. It has become pretty apparent that, we lack a multi venue facility in this city. There was two attempts by the county in the past to build an arena, and I believe that it's coming up for a vote again. But I think that, we did not sell the citizens in general accurately when it came to getting that multi-venue passed. Everybody believed that their taxes were going to go up. Well, surprisingly, they went up anyway, regardless, venue or no venue, right? But, you know, what has happened since we didn't pass that multi venue? Well, UTRGV decided not to hold commencement ceremonies for the graduates here in Brownsville. That means that their parents and the families have to travel all the way to Edinburgh to go see their kid graduate from college. We also saw the fact of how inadequate Sam Stadiums was, especially when, veterans went to state and we couldn't even park. We couldn't even fit nor park at that time. And let's face it, the Brownsville Event Center is just too small. In capacity, it's smaller than the Jacob Brown ever was. And so, I'm not saying that there is a need that the city should take it upon themselves, but maybe there should be a collective effort between the city, the county, and maybe private business out there. You know, maybe a rich billionaire 27 miles away. I don't know. I'm just asking. Do you think that we are in need of a multi-venue, because one of the problems that we have is that once again we've got this bleeding. People are going out to Hidalgo, they're going out to Edinburgh, and they're going out to concerts. And not only are they spending money at these concerts, but they're actually spending money in Hidalgo County. And that money is just being drained. It's every day, every week I hear somebody went to this concert and that concert, and they go eat and they shop and this and that, and they just don't do it here. I mean, what's your take? Do we need a multi venue?
Look, I think I'm not against it by no means, but what I think is that the elected officials need to educate, or and I don't know if educate's the correct word, but they need to sell it better. the
Mm-hmm.
the citizens of Cameron County need to know who's going to pay for this. Who's going to pay for this arena? Is it the state? Are we going to get private investors uh, to build it? But after that, who's going to maintain it after it's built? And you are correct. Our taxes keep on going up regardless, with or without an arena. I hate the time of the year where I have to go pay my taxes. I mean,
You and me both.
I I hate it. Uh, I am in real estate. I do own properties. My family owns properties, uh, and our taxes keep on going up, and we have nothing to show for it. I mean, we don't have an arena. UTRGV is pretty much obsolete. We're sending all our kids on a bus to go I mean, on a bus to go to school over there. Uh, we don't have the facilities, the arena, and all that, but yet our taxes keep on going up.
Right.
Uh, we're finally getting more hotels here in Brownsville, which is a good thing. And I believe with more hotels coming up, maybe an arena is looking better and better. But we need to talk to the citizens and tell the citizens, how is this going to be paid? Is it going to come out of our pocket, or where is it going to come out of? There's a lot of citizens right now that can barely pay their rent. People are losing their houses because the taxes are going up. And it's not because of an arena, because we don't have one. But there's there's houses that people cannot afford anymore, and we have no arena. So that's something that needs to be talked about. Needs to be the citizens of Cameron County need to know and be told you know the truth. Where is this money going to come from? Who is going to maintain it after it's built? Because those are questions that no one knows, unless you could tell me who's going to maintain it after it's already built.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, and no one's ever told me, but I would like to know. And that's what we need before we jump into something. We need to make intelligent decisions of how this city is going. Now, McAllen, they have a beautiful mall. They have the restaurants. Their arena is in Edinburgh. It is not in McAllen.
Right.
The other one is in Hidalgo. It's not in McAllen. So people think, oh well, yeah, let's go to their concert in McAllen. Well, it's not in McAllen. It's in Edinburgh.
Right.
So, uh, that's the misconception everybody has. Uh, all these concerts. Now, the other thing is, all these concerts that are held in McAllen, and I've asked this question before. All these promoters that have these concerts, that bring concerts down, they sign a a, a non compete where they cannot go within I think, a 60 or an 80-mile radius
Mm.
to go to hold another concert. So, say you get Luis Miguel, and we're going to use him an example because he came to my
I
mind
th-
first.
I thought you were gonna say Enrique Iglesias. Remember the
Okay, well,
debacle,
we'll use Enrique Iglesias.
the debacle with McCallum paying so much
Yeah,
money for the guy.
there you go. So he goes over there, plays in Edinburgh or in Hidalgo, but he can't come play over here because they sign that document, that non compete, where they cannot go to another city within a certain amount of miles radius. So what are you going to do? Who do you want to bring to Brownsville as a concert?
Shakira,
Now,
Shakira.
well, there you go. My wife's going to go to Monterey just to go see her. So, yes, do we need one? And I'm sure Shakira will fill it up. She'd fill up
Oh,
anything.
I'd be in the front row. Trust me, I'd be in the front row.
You know. And they were like, "Hey, do you want us to buy you a ticket?" I said, "No. Why don't you all go and enjoy it?" And she's
Yeah.
going in March the 13th or 14th to Monterey to go see her. Now, look what happened at Sombrero Fest this past Friday when they had that concert. There was 5,000, 10,000 people there watching that concert.
Hmm.
And I stood there thinking, if there's 10,000 people here, do we think an arena would do good here in Brownsville? I would say yes.
Right.
But how much does it cost to get into Sombrero Fest?
Well, I think it's what
How
the
much is
tickets start at $15, something like that.
$15?
Right.
So you're asking people to go spend $15 to go to a concert there at Sombrero Fest, but you want to go see someone, and we'll say Shakira. What would a ticket cost to go see her?
A lot more
A
than
couple
fifteen
$100?
dollars. Yeah,
Huh?
a
It's
lot
not
more.
$15.
No,
It's
definitely
not
not
going to be
$15.
$15.
Right.
So, you know, those are the questions that we need to be asking ourselves. Are people in Cameron County going to spend two, three, $400, sometimes 1,000 to go sit in the front row to go see, Shakira, or go see, I would love to go see ACDC.
Oh, oh yeah. I went one time, a couple of
And
years ago.
that's the concert I want to go to.
Yeah.
But that's 400 and something dollars.
Yeah.
How many people here in Cameron County or in the Valley are going to go spend five, six, $700 for tickets?
Right.
Now, what McAllen has that Brownsville doesn't have, and we have to put oranges and oranges. We have to separate them. McAllen has Mission. They have Sherryland. They have Edinburgh. Donna and Westlaco are knocking on their door. So they're pulling from a lot more people than we are.
Right.
So yes, does it make more of a financial say, hey, you know what? We have all these cities, knocking on our door. Does an arena look good for them? Yes, it does. We have San Benito, Los Fresnos, Port Isabel, the island. Can we get enough people to sustain an arena? Don't know. I hope that people would do their homework. I'm I am for it, but let's find out where the money is going to come to build it and who's going to maintain it.
Right.
If our taxes are already going up, and then we have to maintain that arena, then our taxes are going to double.
Right.
Now, the sale tax from the hotels, that's supposed to help, you know, uh, pay for that arena. We were More and more hotels are coming up in Brownsville, which is a good thing. That's what we need. We need more hotels,
Hmm.
but we haven't seen this growth in Brownsville in quite a while.
Right.
It's been a long time since we've seen this growth, and I believe within the next 8 to 12 years, we're not going to recognize Brownsville anymore.
Hmm.
That's why we need to focus on our streets, uh, because it's important.
Right.
Brownsville's about to get ready to explode with our LNG, with our SpaceX. SpaceX is not in Brownsville. People have to understand that. SpaceX is in the county. Do we benefit from SpaceX? Yes, we do. I wish we could benefit more, and hopefully we can, but we need to have a seat at the table with them.
Right.
We need to, go hand in hand, because if something were to go wrong with SpaceX, guess who the first ones they're going to call? The city of Brownsville. Why? Because we're the closest one to them.
Right.
So, we have to have a seat at that table, and it's important that we do.
Which brings up an interesting question that I haven't asked before, and it just jiggled my memory. Obviously, you know that they've filed for city incorporation or town incorporation or whatever. But as anytime cities around us, it doesn't matter which city it is, the smaller cities, when there's a big fire or some emergency, we have had to lend our services out to Rancho Viejo, out to Los
Yes.
Fresnos. Obviously, if they incorporate, there's a lot more than just incorporating, right? There's a lot more of them
Mm-hmm.
becoming star-based citizens, but they're also going to have municipal services too, right? Fire,
Of
police,
course.
protection. Um, Obviously, in case of a major situation, Brownsville would probably have to assist, right? Especially our fire department. Um, I mean, what's your take on that? I mean, do you foresee the city moving eastward, further eastward, or do you think that you know
You
that it
know
may
that
not?
that's a good question. I think I think the city is going north.
Right,
Uh, and I think the boom is going to come, uh, and the city is moving north. Uh, as far as east, uh, Starbase, which is going to pass. I mean,
right,
it is. It is. It would take a miracle that the people that live there don't vote for it.
right.
Uh,
Especially when they
and I
work
would be
there.
very, yeah, the people that work there. So I would be very, very shocked if it didn't. Uh, but they've got to know that Big Brother is the closest one to them,
Right,
and they will ask for our police services and our EMTs, our Brownsville, our ambulance services and stuff like that. So we got to be prepared and say, hey, you know what? Uh, it works both ways, and we need to go hand in hand. Uh, in case of a catastrophic some event happening out there, you better believe they're going to be calling us, and
right,
that we're not going to be the only ones that they call.
right,
And we'll probably get people from McAllen,
right.
and throughout the valley to go help. So yes, I think we need to negotiate with them when it comes to that and say, hey, you know what? Uh, our EMS, our Brownsville Fire, our police department, our men and women that protect us every single day, and then have to go out there. Our services are already strained enough as it is.
Hmm.
We don't have enough ambulances. Our fire department, sometimes our fire department gets there before the ambulance because the ambulance is taking care of another issue.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to mention. I've seen that a lot of times where the fire department gets there before the ambulance does.
Yes. Why? Because they're certified EMTs on there.
Right.
So they'll call a fire truck, and then wait for the ambulance to come back in service to respond and go pick up the patient. But what happens if there's a car accident? What happens if there's a fire? What happens, God forbid, an accident there at the airport?
Right.
We're going to be straining ourselves and our men and women and our law enforcement and our Brownsville Fire, and that I don't want happening,
Right.
because we got to take care of the citizens of Brownsville, and
Right.
I'm a true believer in that. And I think we need to hire more police officers. We need to hire more fire department firefighters, because Brownsville's growing, and there's no reason why the citizens should have to wait a long period of time to get assistance.
Right.
So
All right. Well, one of the last questions I wanted to touch on is something a little bit on a more personal level. How, we you talked a little bit early on about, your faith and so forth, and how do you think your faith has affected your decision to run and for public office, and will you respect, as a commissioner, will you respect the opinions of others? There have been situations in the past, where you know, our elected officials get into a little tussle with the citizens over certain things and so forth. I mean, how do you think, overall, how does your faith play into how you're going to lead, you know, as as a as an elected official for the city of Brownsville?
I'm a true Catholic. I always put God before myself. Uh, and in my profession that I hold right now, uh, I serve the citizens. I serve the country. So, my faith has always said, you know what? Every time I leave home to go to work, I don't know if I'm coming back.
Right.
I don't know. And that's pretty much for every citizen in Brownsville, because every time we get behind the wheel, we don't know if we're coming back home.
Exactly.
We don't know. We just put our faith in God, respect each other, uh, and I don't care what background you come from. That was the way I was brought up. Uh, I still say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. And I will be honest with you, at the age of 53, if my mom tells me to jump, I still jump. And I still do, till this day, do what my mother says at the age of 53. And I'm not embarrassed to say that.
Right.
I'm not embarrassed. Uh, and that's just the way I was brought up. I worked for St. Mary's. I was a security guard there at St. Mary's, where I would go and open up the church in the mornings, and at midnight I would go and walk the grounds and lock up the church. Uh, and I still have very good friends that work with the Catholic diocese, uh, because you and I were speaking earlier. God's only going to give you enough, he knows what you can handle. He's not going to give you any more. And as long as we can respect each other, whether we believe, our beliefs may be different, we're all the same.
Right.
We all got to respect each other. That was the way I was brought up, and that's what I continue to instill in my grandchildren, in my stepchildren. Do what's right all the time, not just sometimes. And
Right.
and by doing that, it will make you a better person, a complete person, and people will respect you more. And I think I can work with just about anybody. I don't hold grudges. All I ask is people respect me, respect my family, and then we're good.
Right.
You could say anything about me, but just respect me.
Right.
We're all come into politics. knowing that, hey, some things may come up, uh, some things may not come up, but at the end of the day, we all have families and we got to respect each other. We cannot allow, you know, other elected officials, other candidates to disrespect one another.
Right. Right.
If we're gonna do that, well then, you know what? I guess we picked the wrong path to follow,
Yeah.
and that's what I believe, and I think that's what needs to happen. We as candidates, as other elected officials, we need to lead by example. We need to lead by example. People are watching us. People see us. You know, a lot of these commission meetings, they're taped. There, people are watching us. We gotta handle ourselves at the highest level,
Right.
and we're held accountable for our actions and our words. And just like they say, words are just as strong as a slap on the face. We gotta respect each other, and our children watch this, and for us as grown-ups and adults to behave in this manner is, to me, unacceptable.
Right. Right.
Unacceptable. And in the career I have, I don't tolerate a lot of stuff.
Right.
uh I really don't. And the people in law enforcement, and our teachers, and uh our elected officials, we do better than this.
Right.
So I think we got a good commission right now. This seat is up for grabs, and let the best man or the best woman win. That's all. I wish the best for everybody. Uh, and I think we've up to now we've respected one another, and I hope it continues that way.
Yeah. Well, one of the things is, could you tell us when voting starts?
Early voting starts April 22nd,
And it goes on
and the
through.
last and it goes through, I believe, April the 29th, and the last day of voting is April 3rd.
All right. And once again, just to clarify, the people in the district are the ones that actually vote for you, right? It's not like a city. The only. It's not like a citywide thing, right? Right.
No, no, it is District 3.
Yeah.
District 3 covers a lot of territory.
It
And
does.
I would say District 3 is the heart of Brownsville. And
Right.
when I say heart of Brownsville is because a lot of the businesses, a lot of the mom and pop stores, a lot of the retail, a lot of the bars, the restaurants are in District 3. And it covers from all the way to Madeira, in front of Rancho Viejo, in
Right.
all 511. So it's a big district. The most concerning part of this is there's a lot of registered voters, but the history of city elections is less than 9% of the people, of the registered voters, do not vote in your city election.
Right. Right.
And that's concerning.
Right.
It's concerning because if you don't vote, then we can't complain.
Exactly. Exactly.
And the people that don't vote are the first ones to complain.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and people think, hey, it's going to be the same thing over and over and over again. Well, how do you know that if you didn't go vote?
Exactly.
And I tell people, don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution.
Right.
If you don't like a certain candidate, well then go and vote.
Right. Right.
Go vote for whoever you think that will hear your issues. I mean, there's no candidate that can promise anything. So I tell people, If a candidate goes to your house and promises you something, that's not the person you want.
Right.
You want someone that's going to hear your issues, be your voice, because someone that's going to go promise you and say, hey, you know what? In a month or 2 months, I'm going to go fix your street. It's not going to happen.
Right.
It's not going to happen because it takes a vote. There's
Yep.
6 people plus the mayor. So the citizens of Brownsville, do your homework, do your research. It's important that you go and vote in your city, BISD, county, and state elections. These are the elected officials that our day-to-day lives depend on them. And it's important. I don't know how many times that you got to beat the horse. It's important.
Yeah.
You need to go out and vote and
Yep.
teach your kids that how important it is to go vote.
Yep.
And I think I think we're headed in the right direction.
Yep.
I want to thank the commission and the city manager. All of them, I believe, are doing a great job. But there's more to be done. Commissioner De Los Santos, vacated District 3 to go at large. So now the 3 of us are running for this seat. Please do your homework, Browzo.
Right.
And remember, no citizen left behind. Not with me. I don't promise anything, and I will never promise you anything. But what I will promise is I will listen to your concerns, I will hear you out, and you will have a voice. And that's one thing that I will make a promise is your concerns will be heard. And I think it's important. Too many people feel left behind. Too many people here in Brownsville feel that they're not being heard or their issues aren't being addressed. Well, now you're going to have a choice. And there's the other 2 candidates. I'm sure are very well educated and have good backgrounds. But I am very, very law enforcement oriented. I do not tolerate a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, everybody, we've gone an hour and 12 minutes.
I can keep on going there, Mr. Salinas.
Well, I can bring you back at any time you want. That's for
Well,
sure.
you let me know, and it would be a great honor to come and see you again.
Not a problem. Everybody, this was Mr. Gustavo DeLeon. Once again, he's running for city commissioner for District 3. And of course, as he mentioned, early voting starts on April 22nd and it goes on through the 29th. And the general election is on May 3rd. So get out there, go vote, quit complaining, and go exercise your rights as citizens. Mr. De Leon, it was a pleasure to have you on. And like I said, you're
Thank you.
welcome at any time, win or lose.
Win or lose.
I'm always willing to have a guest all the time. So
But I like that first word first.
that's right. That's right.
And
All
there's
right.
never any losers, Mr. Salinas.
Right.
Everybody's a winner. Anybody that wants to run for an election or elected position, all of us are winners.
That's right.
Because a lot of people do not want to jump in something like this because it takes money. It
It
takes,
does.
calling people. So all of us are winners at the end of the day.
Right. Yep, that is true. Believe me, there's a lot that goes on. I'm in the public sphere in a journalistic way, and I get beat up all the time.
Yeah.
I can never make my fans happy, but that's all right.
Well,
That's, you know,
you 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 know, and as an elected official and a city commissioner, you cannot make 250 or 250,000 people happy.
right,
You can't.
right.
Sometimes I can't even make my wife happy, and it's just her and I.
Yeah,
And it's hard. It's not easy
right,
doing this. And
right.
I commend everybody that runs for positions and are elected officials that take the time out of their busy schedule with kids and stuff like that to serve our community.
Right.
You know, I tip my hat off to them because it's not easy, uh, but I'm glad they do it.
Right.
So, uh, thank you for everything you do. Thank you because we don't have a newspaper,
We do not. We do
and
not.
and and people look to social media. People look towards podcasts so that they could listen to us and see who we are and
That's
see
right.
if we're sincere or not.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
that
what I
makes a big difference.
yeah, that's what I tell everybody. I said, "Who doesn't want to be on my podcast? I'm the nicest guy to get interviewed by, and I give you more than an hour."
And I'm the nicest guy. So those are the two nicest guys probably here in Brownsville.
Probably right.
You know, and now we have something in common because we're the two nicest guys.
Yep. Yep. All
But I
righty, Miss.
appreciate it. I thank you for everything you do. Go Brownsville, Brownsville first, and no citizen left behind.
All righty, Mr.
Thank you,
DeLeon.
sir.
Thank you, and you have a great evening.
Thank you, sir. You drive safely going and picking up your daughter.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.